Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining Pinnacle Action Coach in our business interview series. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Risa Huffman. She is the president of Stratocumulus Technologies. Risa, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Karen. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. So, Risa, tell us a little bit about Stratocumulus Technologies.
We are what's known as a solution provider, outsourced sales and service for incumbent local exchange carriers, and I coordinate then with additional companies to provide for a complete technological solution to enhance the client's business.
Awesome. So you guys are very much a B2B type of service?
Absolutely all B2B.
Okay.
It includes everything from wireline and mobile voice and data, telecom expense management, hardware, project management, cloud, which is obviously big these days.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to take a full perspective of a technological situation with a client and then realign it to be more effective for the client as well as for the budget.
Great. So thinking about your type of customers, right? Because, businesses come in all different shapes and sizes. What's your ideal type of client for this? It's a really high-tech, it sounds like a really high-tech IT telecom solution, right?
Well, in 30 years in the business, it's from the sales perspective, nobody can know everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have all the partners that I have, partners such as AT&T, Cincinnati Bell. One of the big challenges here in Southern Ohio has been working together between Cincinnati Bell and AT&T. So I have one of my partners is a company called Nitel, which has a hybrid between its own network as well as with the incumbent local exchange carriers. And so we're able to provide cohesive networks across ladder lines, across carriers. So tech per se, looking at the 30,000-foot view, I don't get into a lot of the bits and bytes. What we want to do is make sure we keep the high level so that everyone's able to understand what's happening and why, so that it can be shared with the employees so that any of the changes are less impactful to their day-to-day operations.
I see, and that's super important.
Yeah, so we try to keep the higher level discussion and then work with our partners, companies like Telaris, Dynalink, a company called Technology Source has 100 different vendors that I can work with, including IBM, Cisco, big names. So I leave that technical expertise to the experts.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So, we're all in this COVID situation, right? Some businesses have thrived, some businesses not so much. How has Stratocumulus been impacted with COVID?
And it is Strato for short.
Okay.
Actually, most of our business, because we keep it at the higher level, you've got cultural impacts of technology. We typically have always gone directly to the customer site so we can understand how is accounting working with billing.
Okay.
Right? So we haven't had that ability. So we kind of focused on service and helping existing clients during COVID. We did not do a lot of new business. In August, we reopened under the Responsible Restart guidelines and have moved forward here at the end of 2020, going into 2021.
Right.
Cannot wait. Looking at new clients and figuring out some marketing and ways to be more effective getting the word out that Stratocumulus is here to help the customers bring technology to their business in the new environment. I won't use the term new normal. That's not. But the environments have changed, and we need to figure out how best to make technology work. And that's what we want to do for our clients. So
that's great. So you mentioned a couple ways that you guys have pivoted your business. Do you have any insightful advice that you'd give to folks who are watching, based on, I heard you talk about pivoting, like versus instead of the solution, you started focusing more on service, you stopped taking new customers to kind of really get acclimated maybe to the atmosphere. Do you have any great advice based on the pivoting that you guys have done that you could give to the other folks that might be watching?
I would say create a flexible environment. As everyone rushed to have the remote capabilities, they made a lot of decisions based upon the current situation, but is that what's going to actually help them in the long run?
Mm-hmm.
And making those decisions and having that consulting, such as what at where we need to be in 3 to 5 years, you need to look at the whole picture. A lot of businesses, just by nature of needing to get something done, will add services, and it costs them a nice chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we take where the budget sits, either reduce the amount needed in the budget, or realign the technology to set the platform for moving forward? Everybody's struggling. We need, and a lot of the carriers have done some $0 billing services,
Mm-hmm.
but those are expiring.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure that we don't too much technology, and that can hurt a business greatly? So how do we put that all together? That's what I do. I answer those questions.
I see. When you mentioned that you guys are going to start gearing up for new business, how are you guys preparing for that surge? And I'm going to assume that, you guys have your business plan in place. You've halted some new customers, you've got a plan in place, you're bringing new customers in the door. You've had to change your environment to become more flexible, as you said. How are you guys preparing for that surge of business?
Actually, because we're still with all the COVID surges, speaking of surge, we use the technology that we have available to us. Okay. And what we did before COVID is the same thing that we're going to be doing after COVID, because of it's just a different path that we use. It's the Zoom calls like we're doing now. Mm-hmm. It is the socially distanced type of meetings. I have one person who does my paperwork for me, and they're remote. They have been all the way through, so we don't have to change that. So we've been very lucky that we didn't have to do a lot of changing in order to bring the new customers back. Mm-hmm. We've done some marketing during COVID just to let people know that we're still here. Yeah. A lot of businesses have had challenges. Mm-hmm. So in the course of doing that, we've had some pretty decent response, and we're moving forward. And I worked on some large projects during COVID, had a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. And that's allowed for us to continue during all of this. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. So do you have any offers or demos or any kind of PSA about your business that you want to put out there for, thinking about getting new clients in the door? what kind of advertising plug would you like to throw into this interview?
Well, actually, most of the carriers, like I said earlier, have promotions.
Okay.
And so one of the benefits of working with a solution provider versus the carrier directly is that I'm not exclusive to any one carrier.
Okay.
That allows for me to take a look at the promotion on this carrier and this carrier. How do we put it all together?
Mm-hmm.
So both from a price as well as from service capability, I have that flexibility available to me. And since the carriers pay me, the client doesn't have the same kind of cost associated with getting that consulting capability.
Yeah. So essentially, you have the ability to provide a client with all the services they need at the lowest possible price because you have the ability to pick and choose different things from different carriers because you don't have to commit to a specific carrier.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's a nice place to be. That's a nice place to be.
And I also do have some partners that are hardware vendors and the cloud providers. For example, Cologix in Columbus is one of the premier data centers in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's a bunker.
Wow.
As far as the data center. And they've grown dramatically here in the last 3 to 5 years. So I work with them if the customer needs to move their servers outside of their building, obviously for remote access, we can do that for them.
Yeah, and I know by being used to my past life, and I've got several friends who are in IT. I know that's a big deal. Like the data centers and the security, they're big deals, and I can't say that I understand it 100%, but I just know like it's a pretty big deal.
Yes, it is. And that's one of the reasons that Cologix is one of the leading companies. Is they have dual power, they have dual networks available, they have mobile connectivity available into that data center. They have done some wonderful things with emergency responders.
Wow, yeah, that's top of the line right there then.
Yes.
Awesome. So one last question I want to ask you today, Risa. What is something that is inspiring you the most right now?
My husband.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy. He had a lung transplant a couple years ago, and he's back to work full time. He's been working all during COVID, actually in a retail environment. Consequently, he's one of those at-risk people.
Yeah.
And he's pushed through it, and watching him live life is inspiring.
That's amazing.
And every day he goes to work, he's my COVID-19 hero.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Love him dearly.
So Risa, I want to thank you so much for doing the interview with us today. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.